We're live from the Midtown offices in Tallahassee, Florida, and the Buford Bureau where Corey Clark is. This is Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be taking your phone calls, your social media messages, all that good stuff throughout the day on this edition of the show. Would be remiss, though, Corey, if we didn't point out the grassroots followers that we have on the Twitter machine. And shout out to the homeboy, Jimmy Spizzero. But as we all know, Corey, his friends, we call him the Spiz, sends us a shout out from his 40th birthday lunch. Had to be the boneless wings and things from Zaxby's. So the Spiz getting it done on the Big 4-0, man. You look like you're 23 and getting ready to rush for a final season at Florida State in the Greek life. Look at that! Oh, that looks good. That looks good.
The ketchup threw me off a little bit. The people listening to this, it's a picture of obviously boneless wings and chicken tenders, chicken fingers. And fries, and then I was like, man, he is not dipping the chicken fingers into into that ketchup, is he? But that's got to be for the fries.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good. That looks great. That really does look really good.
By the way, Spiz, you're 40. You should know, man. You can dip your fries in the Zax sauce. Everything can just go right into the Zax sauce.
Don't need ketchup at all, really.
Yeah. All right, Corey. So we'll take phone calls. We'll take messages off of YouTube and Facebook. We spoke to Coach Mike Norvell, David Johnson, running backs coach, and then, I don't know, 3 other players. They're checking it out, man. I really think before Toe Meets Leather and Georgia Tech rolls to town, we're going to probably speak to every single person that's on scholarship at Florida State. So you wrote a pretty cool column, I think, yesterday, just outlining the way that Mike Norvell can sort of motivate his team and also the way he'll speak to the fans just in terms of balancing that sort of double-edged sword of being a player's coach, but then also being really tough as nails and showing some sort of edge. He seemed to be a little bit more good cop on Tuesday, yeah?
Yeah, no, he came back. Jimbo would always do that too. Again, that sounds like it's staged or it's manufactured. I don't believe that to be the case all the time necessarily. But yes, he said that they responded much better. It would have been a bad sign if they hadn't. Maybe he's lying to us. Maybe he's lying to himself, or maybe it's the truth. But I think the big takeaway from today's interviews was obviously I don't know that he had mentioned a quarterback by name since camp began. It was always the collective they. And then today, not unsolicited, like nobody asked him, hey, how's James Blackman doing? It was in his opening comments. He talked about that James Blackman had a great day and has had a really good camp and is really starting to gain confidence. I don't think that was necessarily an accident. I think with Chuba now being out for at least a few weeks, 2 weeks.
No, let's talk about that real quick. His mother put a Facebook message out there that the paper at Arizona picked up on. This kid has busted his tail to get where he is. Saturday night, he played in his first college football scrimmage live at FSU. Chuba was tackled by a few teammates, broke his left collarbone. Surgery tomorrow morning. I think this was posted, on Sunday, or actually, I'm sorry, on Monday. So I'm assuming he probably had surgery today. Sean, his father, is with him. Love you, Chuba. God's got this. Prayers appreciated. And one of those hashtags is week recovery. So
where does that put us? That puts us at
Notre Dame. Let's roll right into Newt Rockney's home. Touchdown, Jesus. Let's christen the anointed one, the new savior.
Well, and Notre Dame's gone to remote classes for the next 2 weeks because of an outbreak there. So maybe they won't even be playing football, and Chuba will get an extra week of recovery. So he's out for 6 weeks with a broken left collarbone. At least it's not his throwing collarbone. Right. But this is a few months after he crashed through a glass table at his house, right?
Yeah.
We're not calling. Chuba's not a klutz, right? We don't think he's like a guy that's injury prone. But then in the span of 5 months, he's fallen through a glass table and been taken to the hospital. And then his first live scrimmage in college, he breaks his collarbone. Yeah. So hey, he learned a lesson there. Carrie Purdy obviously didn't get the message that it was an undisclosed injury because she went out and disclosed it for us, which we appreciate.
HIPAA, Carrie, what about HIPAA?
HIPAA. Yeah. Now that he's out, he ain't playing. Blackman obviously leaps to the forefront of being probably the starting quarterback, having the inside track. In the way that Norvell talked about him on Tuesday, I don't think was an accident or a coincidence. He knows that he's the guy. I think he probably understands that Blackman's going to be the starter, at least early on. Build him up with confidence. And I thought it was interesting. He did talk about the thing that I talked the most about Blackman. Look, the Memphis quarterback isn't great. The Memphis quarterback isn't great. He doesn't have great physical attributes. He can't throw the ball 70 yards. He's an okay guy. But he did really well in Norvell's system. And maybe it's because he handled mistakes well. And the thing that we always talked about with James Blackman is just it snowballs. When he has one bad play, it turns into two, turns into three. And I thought it was really telling that Norvell talked about that almost as much as anything else, about his ability to bounce back and recover from mistakes. Like, you have to be able to do that. And he said he's come a long way in that regard. He's probably still got a long way to go, but that's encouraging that apparently Blackman is learning to just kind of brush it off if he makes a mistake, because you have to, especially at that position.
All right, we'll open the phone lines up here on Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. I need to edit the promo code here that we have because, again, Norvell 2020 was a good run, everybody. Hopefully you joined the website, but it's done now. So back to a 30-day free trial. As I'm typing and talking, and I'm not good at doing, let alone one thing, let alone two things at the same time.
Right.
Or the phone. Otherwise, I mean, it was a pretty pedestrian day on the interview circuit. Nothing really else majorly gleaned. Again, the way he spoke about James Blackman, I think, was encouraging. A lot of the questions that are here on the screen right now are kind of groaning about James Blackman.
Understood.
Job. But hey, man, maybe this staff.
And you have to ask yourself, obviously they're going to, I just can't envision a scenario where they don't have a package for Jordan Travis or somebody else in a Wildcat formation to get somebody back there that can run, that can be an athlete taking snaps. But who gives them the best chance to beat Georgia Tech and whoever else is going to be the second opponent? Is it Tate Rodemaker? Is it Jordan Travis? Or is it the guy that has 23 starts under his belt? I know they haven't been great starts, not a ton of wins, but they might feel a little more secure where if it's even-ish, that they might go with Blackman early on.
All right, let's take our first phone call of the evening. Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. You got Corey, myself, a whole bunch of Florida State fans across the world listening to you on YouTube. Who's this?
Oh, boy.
Disappeared into the ether. Look at that. Not a good start. Not a good start.
We'll never know. We'll never know who it was.
We never will know. How about this, Darryl Cole? Have y'all noticed how many of the players are smiling ear to ear when they talk about Coach Norvell and his staff? I don't think that is an accident. You guys have pointed that out, right? You wrote about that a little bit, right, Corey, or no? Have you waited off on the "they say that Norvell's a genius" column?
No, I wrote that. I mean, it wasn't a column. It was just basically them talking about how much he knows. But no, they and a lot of these guys like being coached hard, man. They probably didn't enjoy the last 2 years. They certainly didn't enjoy the losing. And I think a lot of these guys really enjoy being coached hard because they know that brings out the best in them. So they should be happy that they got a guy in there like this.
Let's see. Caller. Oh, they're there. Who is that? Is that G? Is that Virginia in the house?
Yeah, it's G. How you doing? It's Kirk. How you doing, Corey?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Corey, once you're done with your toupee, can you mail it to me in Virginia? Because I might want to wear it for a game or two.
Yeah, well, it depends on if they win or lose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be a bad luck toupee, but and if they win, to be honest with you, don't I need to keep winning it keep wearing it until they lose? But once they lose, then yeah, I'll send it to you.
You can't wash those clothes, and you got to wear them for every time.
Right? We know the rules. We know the rules. If you wear if you have a lucky toupee, you wear it.
You burn them.
Well, yeah, but it'll be fun. I might do one of the shows like this with a toupee on too.
All right, G, what's on your mind, man?
Excellent. All right, I'm just wondering if you guys are getting a little nervous because Norvell talks about getting 1% better every day and all of that, and all the coaches are really motivated. And do you think Gene's going to go around and flip that on you guys and say, hey, you guys need to step up your game now that the team's looking like they're on the right track, and it's time for you guys to start getting back to work and 1% better every day?
Well, it's hard for me to get 1% better. because I feel like I'm bumping this bald head on a ceiling. I don't know where there's not much room to go. I'm about as good as it gets already. But yeah, that Gator Kirk, that kind of implies that we've kind of been mailing it in the last couple of years, which no way. I was fully invested in Willie Taggart's program and his vision. I was all on board. So we weren't mailing it in. So we bring the same energy, the same intensity, and the same focus. Aslan wouldn't know about it, but when I'm covering a 14-0 national championship team or a 6-7 Sun Bowl team, you're still getting all of Corey Clark. That's what makes me great. Aslan, I hope one day you get to cover a championship caliber football team.
I covered Alabama in 17.
They don't count.
Yeah.
They don't count.
But I mean, as a man once said, the standard is the standard, G. So
Yeah.
We're holding it up there because we have all these subscribers that give us their hard-earned money to give them information on Florida State. So we don't cut corners. We don't, no days off around here. I mean, quite literally. I mean, no days off. So we're looking forward to it. It'll just reinvigorate us even more, if that's possible. Although I just said we can't work harder, but maybe we'll find that 101% that we all have maybe buried somewhere. But yeah, we're not scared of it. Lay the challenge down. Lay the gauntlet down, Gene. We
can do it. We can do it.
Anything football related, G.
You guys do an excellent job with everything you do. So I do have a question though.
Certainly.
Back in the Jimbo day, they had that biometric screening they did when they were at practice. They had all the monitors that monitored heart rate and effort and all of those things. So is that still part of the program, or do we know if that's gone away?
I mean, when they still had a little bit of that when Willie was, at least I know 2018, they were still doing the slingshot stuff, which was like the man bra.
Yeah.
They would wear for GPS. The guy whose name I can never, Bob La Savita. Yeah. His son was a receiver, and I think he was actually kind of like helming that analytics sort of role, at least in 2018. You would see him in the corner on his computer that was connected to all those things. I don't remember last season, and again, in those 3 days that we were out in spring, I don't recall seeing it, but
I don't either. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there, or they're not doing something like that. I don't know. I remember when it first came out, the story that came out, it made it sound like it was revolutionary. It was like Billy Bean and Moneyball. It just turns out when you have a bunch of NFL players on your team, you win a lot of games and you're really good. When they all leave and go to the NFL and you replace them with not so good of players, that's the slingshot didn't result in a lot of championships. It might have given them a little bit of an edge, but not enough to make a huge difference, obviously. I think the most interesting thing Jimbo said about that during that time was Rashad Green struggled a little bit his sophomore year for Rashad Green standards in 2012. And they realized that he was getting too tired of practice. And he wasn't able to get full speed reps in practice because he was getting overworked and overheated. So they dialed him down a little bit, and he took off like the last few games of 2012, I think. And then obviously it was Rashad Green the last 2 years. But, it doesn't hurt. It's another component. But I remember laughing at the thought of it being like the reason or a key reason that Florida State was so good in avoiding injuries. It's like, no, it has its place, but it's not changing the game. I didn't think. Maybe, I guess Jimbo would argue with me. But hey, he hadn't won a championship since either.
So, all right, G, that's what we know. We'll keep an eye out, though, if they ever let us back out there at practice. We'll report back.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everything you do. You guys do an awesome, awesome job. And based on everything I've seen from these coaches and how they speak and the expectations they have of their players, if they can turn that into that product on the field, they should have an awesome, awesome time when they get back on the field. So you guys have a great night, and thank you as always. Support Warchant. Hit that thumbs up button.
That's right.
Go Noles.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Good night.
There we go. Yeah, man, don't totally hate on the slingshot. I think there was a lot of benefit to it. Everybody's
I thought it was just in that moment when I think it was David Hale I know it was David Hale that wrote it, like this huge talking point. And, okay, it probably helps some, but it's not the catalyst.
Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. Who's this and where are you calling us from?
Hi, this is Daryl in Thomasville, North Carolina. How y'all doing?
Good, Daryl. How are you, man? How you doing?
What's up, buddy?
We're doing good. I got a couple of questions for y'all. The first one is the Warren Thompson situation. Was that a team thing, or was did Mike Norvell make that decision on his own, having welcoming him back on the team?
I mean, we don't know. We don't have 100% clarification on that, but I'm not thinking he went to the team and asked necessarily. He might have asked for input maybe from a couple of guys, but I think that's a Norvell type decision that he decided to make. So yeah, that would be my take on it. I think that's something that he decided. Maybe he talked to coaches. He got some input from a few people, but overall, I think it's his program. I think that's Norvell's decision to make. And I don't even know if I like the idea of bringing it to the team, because I don't think a whole team is going to stand up and say no, we want him out. But what if 8 people do? Well, 75 people said no, keep him. So he's still on the team, but then there's 8 people he has a real problem with that wanted him off the team. So I don't like the whole team vote thing, because they're always going to vote for their teammate. Sometimes you just have to be the coach and make hard decisions. And I think this wasn't an easy decision. It's not an easy decision to keep him on the team. So I'm pretty confident. I would feel very confident that was a Mike Norvell decision.
Yeah, I don't see him doing that.
The second question is, I've seen where I know that Sanford dropped out. I've seen where there's a possibility BYU could be added to the schedule. What you think about that possibility?
I mean, I heard that too. I guess it's better than nobody. But maybe BYU can replace Notre Dame if Notre Dame's going to cancel school and cancel football. I would think. I just don't know that you don't want to start with an ACC team and then play somebody like BYU that can beat you. I mean, and then you got to play another game. The Miami's the third game, right? I mean, that's all of a sudden you went from Georgia Tech and Sanford to Georgia Tech and BYU. Aslan put the FAU owl logo up on the screen. He wants Willie Taggart. I don't want that either. But find a school closer. Find a school closer, in my opinion, that you would want to do. And how would it work? Would BYU would they be willing to come to Florida State? Are you going to have to go back? Are you going to have to return the trip? Would you have to play in front of a full stadium when they're only coming to play in front of 10,000 fans, if any? So I don't know. That seems like I guess it could happen. It's not like there's a lot of possibilities. You got to find what you can. But I don't know, honestly, if playing BYU would even be worth it. Like, just don't play an 11th game. Like, especially if there's going to be reduced crowd size. And there's a chance there might not be anybody allowed in the stadium. But certainly if it's 12 or 14,000, I don't know that Norvell would be okay with making whatever you'd make on that gate, but at the expense of a win. Like you're going to have a real hard game right before Miami. So I don't know. I think it's a possibility, sure, but that would not be one of my top 10 choices for teams to play.
I know they was looking for games to be played because they were having trouble, coming up with teams for the season. So
yeah, it would make sense for BYU. I just don't know that it would make sense for Florida State, especially a first-year coach. You need to try to get an easy-ish W on the schedule. I feel like BYU was pretty good last year. Aren't they always pretty good?
Yeah, they're usually pretty good. Well, I took advantage of the Norvell 2020 promo that was going on the last few days, and so I'm still waiting for my e-card to come in. So plug Gene, tell Gene to get on the ball with that.
We will.
Anyway, I love love y'all's show. Y'all do a great job, and go Noles.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you very much, Daryl. We appreciate that, man.
All right. We also appreciate this. My boy Ray Pereira coming through.
My man, what's up?
Ray. That's right. All right. So we talked about wrestling a whole bunch of DJ Lundy, which, man, I love. Like DJ Lundy, he's from rural Georgia. He had a nice syrupy sort of
yeah, he did.
voice. I appreciated it. Who would I least and most want to wrestle? This is what we call a tease in the business. Stand by. We'll talk about that shortly. Let's get a phone call. Welcome on in to Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. This is Aslan. Corey's here. Whole bunch of Florida State fans across the world listening to you on YouTube. Who's this? Where are you calling us from?
Glad you took my call this time, Aslan.
Oh, hey, Jeremy, Miami, right?
Yes, sir.
That's right. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good, buddy.
Good. Aslan, way to get Norvell's attention today with that last question of the day.
Just trying to give Corey, just making Corey earn his paycheck. Just trying to make him type as much. And
what was the last question?
Just about how does he balance understanding that kids aren't going to go 110?
Oh, right, gotcha. Yeah,
wanting them to stay to your standard, and then so
gotcha.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you.
No problem. Question: has anything surprised you about this coaching staff since camp just started?
I mean, the way he's been handling the whole Marvin Wilson and Warren Thompson things that have flared up. This is a big time program. Those are really difficult, sticky situations to maneuver through, and I would not have guessed a 30. He's 38, right? And my birthday's tomorrow. Today, if you're listening to this on the podcast,
it's your birthday,
August 19th.
Oh man,
thanks.
All right, buddy. Sound the horn again. Can you sound the horn?
Yeah, I don't know. People don't like it, but you know what? That just emboldens me, Corey. I think the way he's handled it, I couldn't imagine handling it any more gracefully, and I didn't know how equipped he would be to handle that kind of stuff, coming from where he's come from and dealing with these sort of big time players, at least on paper, and where they kind of think they fit into the orbit of the world. I've been really surprised and pleased by the way he's handled that.
Yeah, I don't know of anything that surprised me other than, and I don't even know if this is fair, but I guess I've been impressed with all of them. And usually especially in a 10-person coaching staff, you feel like there's going to be one or two where you're like, yeah, all right. How did he get in this? How did he get here? They're all really impressive. And I think most of them are upwardly mobile. Most of them are going to be coordinators or coaches or head coaches at some point in their careers. I'm impressed with all of them. I really am. And that's not fair, but it goes to the point of how many guys he had to replace while he was at Memphis. Like, it would have, and they kept getting better. He kept losing assistants, and they kept getting better, which leads you to believe he's really good at evaluating coaches, which isn't as important as evaluating players, but it's really important. So the way they communicate, most of them are very upfront, honest. Will tell if you ask a question about a player, they'll give you an honest opinion. That to me, just the coaching has been. The one that I don't even want to – surprising isn't fair, but refreshing, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Thanks for all you do. Rate and review Warchant with a 5-star rating. Support Zaxby's and like on YouTube.
That's right. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Maybe we should ask Jeremy what surprised him about the staff thus far.
That should have been your question. That'll be next time, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so Ray, here we go. I probably least would want to wrestle Corey just because I have to deal with him every day. So it'd be kind of awkward if he beat me up or if I beat him up. I guess, I don't know, but I think Gene's wily. Like, I don't want to wrestle like the Don of Dons, And I think like
you're going to say Ira? You're going to wrestle Ira out of the three of us?
Gene would give me like a wet willy or something. And then while he had me pinned, it just would not be fun. And like bring on Ira. I play him in tennis all the time. He already beats me in tennis, so my ego is already damaged when it comes to dealing with Ira. So
I'd like to see Ira in a singlet.
Yeah.
Just like a King Kong Bundy singlet. It just coming at you. That would be fun. That'd be cool to see.
Oh gosh. I mean, we are on YouTube, so we do have I think we skew a little bit younger. So for those who are like, who's King Kong Bundy? Let's use the wonders of the internet.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. That obviously Ira's body type isn't that. That dude's like 500 pounds, but just that kind of singlet covering the nips. I'd say that's a great look. Man, what a athlete.
Yeah, look at that. So James, appreciate you, man.
All right, James.
I will spend that wisely. We had a little bit of friendly fire. James didn't like me criticizing our fan base and the way they handle certain situations that sort of surface, but we agree to disagree. I think everybody's better off now after the whole Warren Thompson debacle, if you will. So Corey, always the voice of reason, keeping your voices loud and above mine. So yeah,
hey, friends can disagree and still give money. James B., you're the best, man. You and Ray just bring it every week. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
You know, if they don't let us, you know, if they're going to limit the amount of people that can go to games, then maybe I really should just like go to the game as a paid fan or like sneak in and just get re-immersed, rediscover my love for Florida State. So I'm not that kind of boring journalist, objective guy all the time. Maybe I'm get a little more Homer back in my DNA, you know?
All right. Are you saying I'm a boring journalist? Oh, okay.
You're more practical, Corey. You're more practical. Yeah. You mentioned like this is the way fandom works, and I get it, but I apparently don't because I constantly try to snipe back and forth with our fans. Jeremy helping out the birthday fund. You don't need to do this, guys. You don't need to do this. I just want to live. I just want to live. Just want to be alive.
Happy birthday, Aslan. That was good to bring that up, Aslan, and it was your birthday.
Just want to bring it. I want to get to this question here from somebody. Well, first off,
thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. James, Jeremy, Ray, appreciate you. Uwatu, Memphis has those refrigerated semi-trailers that players sat in between series. Is Norvell bringing that to Tally? I mean, Willie had that. They had the refrigerated semis, the trailers.
Again, we haven't been out there. I haven't even been in town. Aslan could get up and go at least drive by and see if they're using them. That could be. You could drive by right now. I bet they're right by the practice field. No. But yeah, see, he obviously they didn't have them or didn't need. I don't remember them at all in the spring, but it was also like February, so you wouldn't need you need heated trailers. Yeah,
so, we don't. Florida State didn't own those; they rented them, so no need to rent them in February when they're not needed. So, I mean, I would just the fact that they've gone back to putting on the pads on the helmets for the linemen just makes me think that they're not going to skimp when it comes to player safety and health. So.
I would think though that would be something. Even I don't know that in this current climate. Literally and figuratively, that you want like 10 or 12 guys in an enclosed space in a semi trailer doing that, because I don't know that they're wearing masks, so they could go in there and keep their helmet on, I guess, but they might be, not doing that right now because of what's going on.
Well, maybe once they start getting tested 3 times a week, they'll bump it back up to being able to do that. This is the question. I don't recall this. Claude Villamere, talk about Norvell. Apparently Deborah Norvell's husband. She's a stone cold fox, by the way. She was. Talk about his interview today when he was talking about James Blackman and handling his fumbling and other miscues.
Well, he was talking about how his reaction to those plays, and that he brought it up that he watched James on film a lot, and when James makes a mistake, he's inconsolable. He's mad. He's angry. It almost seems like he's to the point of tears. He's so upset, and that's what he was talking about. You got to be able to handle that better. You got to be able to go play the next play. You can't let one play turn into 5 plays. And so he said that. It can't be 2 plays, 3 plays, 4 plays. You've got to squash it and get back to being a leader again and being a quarterback. And that's what they're working on him a lot with. And it's encouraging that he said that he seems like he's getting better at it. But the proof is September 12th, man. Maybe he doesn't throw an interception all year. But the first interception he throws, the first horrible mistake he makes on a Saturday, how does he handle it? That's where you want to see the growth. And maybe just a clap of your hands and one of those darn it, I'll get him next time type things, or is he going to be head in the hands on the bench, not being able to be talked to by anyone?
Look, wouldn't that be the most impressive thing if he is able to become that kind of kid?
Absolutely. You mean for Norvell?
Yeah, I mean for both of them too. I mean,
Blackman for growing up, but Norvell and Dillingham for getting through to him to understand, because again, you don't want to tell a kid not to care. And people display the way they care in different ways, going all the way back to like 8-year-old baseball. There's some kids that get really, really upset when they make an out. Some kids handle it better than others. You hope they grow out of it. And maybe if Blackman can grow out of it now, 3 years in, 4 years into his career, because usually at this point you kind of are what you are. So that would be really impressive on his part. And then also for Norvell and Dillingham to get through to him to just, hey, it's okay. Flush it. Let's go.
Shout out Daniel Gibbs. He wants my gamer tag. You have to give me a little more time to get back on my Xbox skills. I've been getting beat up pretty badly. I don't want to embarrass myself, but I'll let you know. And appreciate the e-tip or whatever we call these things.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that, buddy.
Let's see this question here from David Cromer. As a follow-up to the previous question about rescheduling a team in place of Samford, would you rather schedule another FCS team or have 2 weeks to prepare for Miami?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know. I think I don't know if there'll be any FCS teams available, but part of you wants to say just you get 2 weeks off and you get to prepare for Miami. But you also want your younger guys to play. You also want to gain some confidence depending on how that first game goes. Maybe you wait to see how it goes on Saturday night against Georgia Tech, and then you're on the phone as soon as you get off the field if it doesn't go well and schedule a team for the next Saturday. They could show up in a week. I think if you have your druthers, you'd rather have a game in between, but a game you can win and should win comfortably than 2 weeks off, especially at the beginning of the season. Like an off week between week 1 and week 3, I don't know that does you a whole lot of good.
Yeah, seems a little much. Don Rorick, I would like your honest opinion, Corey. Last year you compared our offensive line as shuffling chairs on the Titanic. Will it be better this year?
This year's the Hindenburg. It's going to be up in the sky. It's going to be sky high. It's going to be by the clouds now. Yeah, man, it'll be. They really, as Ray Pereira just said, all the coaches really do speak highly of Atkins. David Johnson today said he was one of the brightest coaches he's ever been around, one of the best recruiters he's ever been around. Norvell, Dillingham, I don't think it's coach speak, man. They all really believe in what this guy's doing, and they believe in his talent and his ability. So I do think it'll be better. It's not going to be a Princess Cruise Line that just gets to the Bahamas safely. Is Princess? That's a cruise ship, right? Yeah. Okay. But it doesn't have to be the Titanic either. It doesn't have to be a tragedy. And that's what it's been the last 3 years. I think they can get to be okay. You're hoping for okay. This guy is not a miracle worker. He is not going to turn them into a good offensive line. The players are still the players. They're going to be stronger. They should be a year older. You hope they're a year better. They will be a year older. That's how time works. Yeah, hopefully they're a year better. But if he knows what he's doing, they're going to be stronger. They have to be a little bit better. I think you got a little addition by subtraction with some of the players that aren't on the roster anymore. But yeah, let's hope by week 7 I'm not comparing it to like the Lusitania or any other just awful sea tragedies, and I'm just comparing it to a regular ship. Just a regular ship.
There we go. What was the name of the boat? Was it the Orca in Jaws?
Yeah, they needed a bigger one, as it turned out. He kept trying to tell him we're going to need a bigger boat, but the old Quinn wouldn't listen.
Shout out to Bavion Johnson and talking about offensive linemen. I think for me, I feel like Andrew Baselli just because Bavion was part of the unit that has been kind of underperforming here lately. But he had a pretty good block in that scrimmage. I think Corbin or someone had a screenplay that busted for a big gain, and Bavion was like 20, 30 yards downfield, part of the convoy, laying down blocks. So that was well done. So yeah,
there you go, big baby. There you go. You got a good block.
They were a little bit better than 18 last year, right? A little bit better.
Man. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit, I guess. But I don't know if they were any better. I think maybe you had better coaches to scheme around it a little more, and you hope for the same thing this year. Yeah. But you hope for some improvement up front as well. Yeah. Which, there's no – you don't stay the same normally. You do make incremental progress. If Brady Scott is working at 55% of what he should be working at capacity-wise, he can get up to 60. He still doesn't have to be great, but he can get to 60. The young kid at left tackle, Washington, he could be a nice player. He can do some good things. They don't have to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think Devontae Love-Taylor, I think, is going to be an upgrade over what they had at right tackle last year. I think Darius Washington is an upgrade over what they had at left tackle. Bavion and Andrew Baselli will figure it out. Dante Lucas, all those coming off an injury. It was a broken bone, which in this day and age is actually better than ligament damage. So we know him and what he's motivated to do. And then, you got Brady Scott and you got Maurice Smith maybe battling for that other guard spot. So you got some options, and I feel good about it. I do feel good about it. Also feel good about Robert D. Thank you, bud. Appreciate it.
All right, Robert. That's really nice. Thank you, buddy.
It's not my birthday yet. It's tomorrow. If you're listening to the podcast, it will be the 19th, which is.
Hey, man, it's still your birthday. You want Robert to take his money back?
I just don't want people to think that I'm like out here, grifting or whatever on folks. A fun fact: the 19th, also the same birth date as a former president. I won't say his name. He's polarizing for some folks. Coco Chanel, and apparently I found this out 2 days ago, Corey. The reigning UFC heavyweight champion. We have the same birth date, August 19th, of 82.
Oh, there you go.
So I couldn't imagine.
I have a polarizing president myself that shares my birthday.
Yeah.
Well as Steffi Graf and Yasmin Bleeth.
Ooh. Okay.
Yasmin, right? Yeah.
I got to pull that up too. Some of these kids might not know who we're talking about. She was my queen. Like my first original queen was probably Nicole Eggert.
Yeah, that's a good one. You talking about Steffi Graf now?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm trying to pull up a photo of Yasmin Bleeth, but all these are her before and afters, like what she looked like at 25 and what she looks like now, and it's just not. Here we go. This is oh no, that's not the one I want to click on. Where did it go? There was one that's pretty. There we go. I want to make her. I want to do her proud. Yeah,
yeah,
there she is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a thing. A whole TV show with women just in bikinis running on the beach. It happened.
Pretty popular too. It stuck around for a good long while.
It was glorious. Also, David Cromer in the house. He asked a question about the scheduling, which we eloquently answered, and I agree with Corey. I want a game. I don't know. I'm not scared of BYU. I'm not scared. Bring on whoever.
I looked them up. They were 7-6 last year. They did beat Boise State, and they also beat USC. They barely beat Liberty. And then they lost to South Florida. They lost to Toledo. They got hammered by Washington. They did beat Tennessee as well early on. Yeah. And they got hammered by Utah. And lost to San Diego State by 10, and then lost the Hawaii Bowl to Hawaii 38-34. But they're a capable team. They're better than Georgia Tech. So, that's – I don't know.
Show the ACC some respect, Corey. Come on. Don't be taking an independent over your, over a fellow conference mate. Come on.
That's right. That's right. What's funny though is Swolnel. He's big. That's him. Good grief.
It is. It's really him.
Oh, so the Notre Dame thing, for the people that haven't been on Twitter, their president came out, or whatever they call their president. I can't remember, chancellor or something. Father. He came out and said that they're going to be remote classes only for the next 2 weeks. They did think about sending all the students home like they did in March. But for now, the students are going to be able to stay on campus, but it's going to be remote only for the next 2 weeks. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that, if they do have to send students home, it might not be like North Carolina. Like North Carolina is doing remote only, but they're still playing football. And even if they send their students home, they might still play football. Notre Dame, it seems to be that people think that if they sent their students home, that would be a wrap for football. And the thinking might be, okay, well, then if they do that, then the rest of the ACC will follow suit. And screw that. Like imagine going to John Thrasher and saying, look, Notre Dame shut it down, so we're going to have to shut it down too. He'd be like, oh, you mean the team that's not really a part of our football conference shut it down, and now we're going to shut it down because the team that won't get into this conference did it? No chance. They can enjoy their fall. We're going to still try to play. And I think you can make an adjustment if that happens. You can make an adjustment if Notre Dame decides to cancel school.
Is North Carolina sending the kids home though? I thought
they made it remote only, but they might end up sending them home. I think they might have sent them home. I can't quite remember. I can't quite recall what they did it or not. But
because I was thinking about that when you mentioned the tweet that Ira sent, sort of tongue in cheek when UNC made the announcement. Well, they did it after they got the checks, after the checks cleared for tuition, room and board. I was like, well, they'll refund room and board. Obviously, they won't let you live on campus. But just because they say online only doesn't necessarily mean the campus is evacuated. I mean, you could do online only. You could still live in your dorm and take classes there. I mean, that way you're only in a room with your dorm mate as opposed to
there'd still be an outbreak among the student population because it's the off-campus parties. But if they're not getting it at your school, if they're not getting it at your class, then I don't know that. Maybe don't worry about it. I guess I don't know. I'm not one of these people that have to make these decisions. But again, I just hope that remote only doesn't mean we can't play football now, because you can.
Well, there's a rumor that supposedly, actually, no, today's almost over with, but supposedly the Big Ten was going to announce on Tuesday that they're back.
That would be a reversal that would really be surprising.
Yeah.
Happens though.
Yeah. Alexander Franz heard anything on Ira Henry's development? need to have like an ongoing list. You folks keep asking us about specific players, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting some info. A little bit of a bummer on Corey Durden. Somebody on Warchant was asking about Corey Durden, and we hadn't heard about him, so I asked the other day, and I didn't realize he had off-season surgery. And the way that Mike Norvell answered it made it seem like he's probably not 100% full go. Just to keep everybody up on what's going on right now with your boy Aslan and his preseason top 40. The number 3 player on my list is out for 6 weeks. The number 4 player has been dismissed from the team. The number 8 player tested positive for COVID. There's somebody else that I really botched up already too. So my top 40 not looking good. What was our deal that we made, Corey, about and then Corey Durden's number 9 on my list. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're 20 something days away from playing games, and he's coming along, from an injury. So I'm hurt, dog, as a man once said.
Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, we are 24 days away, folks. 24. We're almost to the 3-week mark. But again, one day at a time. We have not heard anything on Ira Henry's development. That doesn't mean he's not developing. We've gotten Adkins once, I believe. He was obviously not one of the names that came up. Hopefully we'll get him again, and we can ask. A lot of times when they speak about the freshmen, if they're not directly asked about them, they speak in the collective of the young guys learning. They're doing better. We can try to remember if we get him. We can try to remember to ask about him specifically to see how he's doing. I know he's not a true freshman, but still he's a young guy.
Open the phone lines back up. Sorry, I forgot to open the tab back up, but it's open. 850-792-5730. William McMillan confirms it is 24 days. He is indeed ready. Swolnol says to play Vanderbilt, but we can't play Vanderbilt. SEC is doing conference only. They don't want this. They would just with themselves would like to get a little bit of that Vanderbilt. Go up to Nashville even, play in that snake pit. Yeah, that would be nice if we could play Vanderbilt. Corey. Back to Claude. I listened to an ACC pundit predict that FSU would only have a 5-5 season. Tell me what you think about that.
I think that's a little low. I'm in the 7-win camp. I think that's a reasonable goal, and maybe it's this coaching staff, man. Golly, I hope they're the real deal. Don't they seem like they're the real deal, Aslan?
Yeah, man.
Aslan, you know what I mean? Don't they seem like they're the real deal? I think they're good enough. Look, they finished 6-7 last year. I just feel like with this entire coaching staff, replacing last year's coaching staff with this one, I think you're looking at that's a 9-win team. I really think that. I think they lose the 3 games that they got blown out in, and I think they win the rest because the little things matter to them, and they don't become big things. And I think they beat Wake Forest by multiple scores. I think they beat the tar out of Boise State. I think that happens with this coaching staff. I really am becoming a believer in them, and I don't know if it's because of the PTSD of the Taggart years. That just anything different than what we saw the last 2 years has me excited or amped up. But I just the way they talk, the way everything seems to matter to him. I'm really excited for the future of this program. They are not going to be a 10-win team this season, but it can be coming pretty soon.
I've tried to bring this up before on the show and have been unsuccessful, as I usually am, unfortunately for you listeners. I do think there's a certain part of maybe just like focus on the Boise game. Like, I don't know if Mike Norvell's offense jumps out to 31 first half points against Boise. Like, we do need to give a little bit of credit to what Kendall Briles and his family has done for the last, 10 years in FBS football. But I do agree. I mean, I don't think that team maybe comes undone. Maybe there would be a calming presence from your head coach in the midst of a 31-3 sort of debacle. I don't know if they would beat the tar out of Boise State. I mean, I don't know if they would run up the sort of point totals they did against some of these teams in the first few weeks in those first halves, but maybe it would be more balanced throughout. So that's the kind of thing I really think, and you were on this, Corey, you were on this a long time ago. You're on this at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium right after the game last season against Florida about the defense is really what needs to get changed and needs to get fixed and needs to get tightened up. I mean, if this offense can just grow a little bit or maybe even maintain the 19 sort of surge they would have here and there, but the defense can actually play up to the expectations that folks in this town and this fan base have for the defense, that's really where these wins will come from, I think.
Yeah, think about the Virginia game and just completely melting down in the fourth quarter of the Virginia game and giving up 3 straight touchdowns to an average at best offense when the game on the line, just straight up and down the field. Could not stop them, had no answers for the great Virginia offense. Boise State, you couldn't stop and I think Boise State scored like 20 points the next week. The defense was a travesty, and part of it was, most of the blame obviously goes to Harlan Barnett, but he was also asked to run a 3-4, which he'd never coached, and those guys weren't recruited to play in, so that didn't work out well either. Travis Johnson knew that back when we talked to him in August of last year. He was like, "Well, we'll see how they react to it, but it's a whole different deal because he knows about playing."
And they were coached. Sorry, Corbin, they're coaching a man down. He didn't pick Woody to be his linebackers coach. There's some things that he was dealt a pretty bad hand, and this defense staff won't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I think the defense will just be much better. I don't think it's going to be top 10 in the country, but it is going to be much better. It's going to be competent. It'll be competent. You're going to have to go earn points against this. You can't just run the same route over and over again like Virginia did and go right down the field. You're going to have to earn points against these guys because they know what they're doing. They're competent, and they seem to communicate really well, which is also a big deal. And that's something they've talked about a lot in the last few days is the communication level between the coaches. And apparently to Norvell, that's highly important. And he was really ecstatic with the communication at the scrimmage.
Yeah, 5-5. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens with that 11th game, which Samford is off the table. We'll get that fixed. But you feel good about Tech. Who knows about Miami, Notre Dame, Carolina, Louisville. We've gone through this a few times. 5-5. Would that be a disappointment? 5-5.
Yes, it would be. Yes, at some point, I can't keep saying, well, it depends on how it looks. Yes, anytime you go 500 at Florida State University, it's going to be a disappointment. You got too much talent to go 500. We know what he's dealing with. We know some of the roster turnover that still needs to happen. But there's too much talent to go 5-5. You're going to be more talented than most of the teams you play. And I think with a good coaching staff, that'll manifest itself in a couple extra wins. So, yeah, that would be a disappointment. Now, they could be beset by injuries. Crazy things could happen. They could lose on 3 Hail Marys. We don't know. They could beat Miami in Florida or maybe beat Clemson and then lose to Boston College. Like, there's ways that it could look okay. You're positive. But I would think a 5-5 season would be highly disappointing.
Daniel Gibbs apparently treating this chat like it's a gentleman's club and just throwing, $5 here and there instead of just
to get up on the screen. I like it though, man. You want that to be the going rate moving forward to get your question on the show. $5. Thank you, Daniel. We appreciate it, man.
And I hope it's not my fault. I'm sorry, Chubb, if it's my fault if I put the bad juju on you.
Daniel says that Aslan jinxed Chubba by rooting for him to be the QB, and now he's got a broken collarbone.
And then he throws another $5 e-tip. Aslan, you were against Norvell in the beginning. Can you say you were wrong now, or is it still too early? Will you admit you were wrong if it turns out good? I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm seeing.
It's too early, though. It's too early. I believe in this guy, and he might prove me wrong. I do believe in him, but it's too early to start taking victory laps. He hasn't coached a game yet. He's been in fact, he's had 2 players come out and call him liars on social media. So it hasn't been an incredibly smooth summer. But just I know you guys watch some of these videos, and if you're not, what are you doing? Go watch those videos that we have of Norvell talking and his coaches talking, and even the players when they parrot what they're saying. It's encouraging, man. It's really encouraging because it hadn't been around here in a good long while.
Yeah. I just, after what happened with Taggart, the profile he had, Bob Stoops is out there. You start a Renaissance campaign. I just thought getting the coach from Memphis probably was not the play, as children would say these days. But, I'm happy to be wrong.
But so far, right? Like so far, you like what you see. How could you not?
Yeah, the first day of practice, we walked out there, like I said, just the tone and the tenor and the way things were organized and the way the guys were running back and forth between drills and stations. Again, people think I might have been joking the other day when they uploaded the clip from practice, just like the soundtrack of these guys yelling and straining at practice those are kind of the encouraging things to me before we can actually see the game plan come together and it be executed. Just that, into Corey's column the other day and what I was talking about on the podcast, just this team learning how to have proper habits for a winning program. Like the winning habits, the practice methodology was not there the last years. I'm telling you, I know I focused too much on the music. It was part of the problem, though. There's a lot of problems. Those don't seem to be readily as apparent now, but it's hard to probably have everybody change and get rid of those bad habits so quickly, but they're on the right track. So
I think the bigger problem was the way they practiced, not necessarily the soundtrack. But, we talked a lot about when we saw it. We still talk about it, that fumble drill that we showed where guys just, that's going to get him better. That's getting him ready for Saturday when those Miami guys just kind of politely tap at the ball like it's a newborn baby. Stuff like that. I was just thinking when you were talking about the practice in the first day, did you happen to see any of the coaching staff maybe like leaning back on the goalpost during a full practice? Like
no sulking.
Do you still have that photo?
I do.
Would it? Maybe I don't know. It's probably not the best thing to show, but it didn't that sum up everything? Didn't that sum up everything?
Mm-hmm. It did, absolutely.
What are you doing? Are you about to show it?
No, but I'm going to show the what sort of it's very similar to. I'm going to pull it up here. This is like I texted Corey and Ira this when it happened, and
right.
what it is. If you can't see, listen to us on a podcast. It was like Bear Bryant. There's this iconic image of Bear Bryant leaning against the goalpost before practice or before a game. And I'm
with
like,
his hat on, with his checkered hat on, holding the program or holding his play sheet, probably not a program.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, that's look at
that was a Florida State coach I think it was last spring.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the other positions were practicing, like all of them, and that was a Florida State coach just leaning up against, like in the middle of a practice, like for periods, like it felt like 4 or 5 periods. He just leaned up against the goalpost.
They were a man down, Corey. You went 5-7 the year before. You ruined all these streaks, and you go to 19 like, who needs assistance?
Who needs
This guy does it. Come on, it's all gone. It's gone. Shout out to Darth Cronus PS4, although I can't really encourage PS4 fans. I'm an Xbox guy. Well, appreciate you, Darth Cronus.
Thank you, Darth. We appreciate that, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think that's his name? If you wanted to play him on PS4, that's got to be his name, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering if that's his actual real name.
That would be an awesome real name. Do you think there's got to be somebody out there named Darth?
Yeah. I saw somebody in England try to name their child Lucifer and had to jump through like 50 different hoops to make it happen, but it eventually happened. So they literally have a child named Lucifer. So
you just call him Lucy for short?
I don't know. Here, let's take a phone call. People have been trying to call in, but I don't know. Again, these phone lines are a bit wonky because I don't know how to be a total IT guy all the time, but who cares about that? A little too behind the scenes. Welcome on into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Who's this? Where are you calling us from?
Hey, it's Jay from Daytona Beach.
What's up, Jay? Good to talk to you again, man.
There we go. What's up, Jay? What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hey, Corey, man, we love you, man, but you gotta chill out on the outlandish statements, man. When have you ever seen Boise State get the tar beat out of them?
That's probably a good point. That's a fair point, Jay. I hope you were calling in for more than that. You got to understand, man, I'm hyperbolic. I exaggerate. I say dumb things all the time. I was just thinking, okay, I don't think if Norvell gets up 21 points or 24 points at home, he blows that lead. Willie did it 2 back-to-back games. That was my point. That was my point. But, yes, you're right. They would not have gotten the tar beat out of them. That's a proud program with good players. Good point. I reel it back. I take it back. I'm a big man. I can admit when I'm wrong.
I get the sentiment, Corey. I'm just messing with you, man. I'll never forget Taggart being in shock at the Virginia Tech game, like he didn't know the team that he had. But anyways, man, I just had a comment, man. Speaking of Chubba, first of all, Purdy is a good player. His brother, he's gonna be a draft pick. But if you look at that graphic, I don't know if Aslan has that graphic pulled up or not. But when he's running in for that touchdown, man, he does something that I haven't seen a quarterback for Florida State do in a while. And you guys we're just talking about the little things. The way he's stretching the ball over, but protecting it at the same time.
That's kind of why I know people don't like that he got hurt because he was live, but that's the kind of stuff. There's the picture. Aslan's showing the picture right now. But that's the kind of stuff that you can't do it unless you do it. Like, you can't shake off a tackle or push through a tackle and know that you can reach out and get into the end zone if you're wearing a green jersey. At the same time, he broke his flipping collarbone. So there's a downside to it too. But you're right, man. I think that you hope there's something to this kid. It's early and he's out for 6 weeks. But you hope there's something to this kid that's a little bit different. And I do think he'll play this year in some capacity. I do think they'll have a Chuba package, even if he's not the starting quarterback.
Well, I like what I saw from him so far. And I don't know, maybe he's a rich man's Wyatt Rector or poor man's Tebow. Either way, I'll take it for us. And also, man, that I don't know if that's official, but a 247 Sports, they put out a top 25, and we weren't able to sniff it, guys. You know, we were thinking if a top 25 came out without the Big Ten teams, Pac-12, we'd be able to maybe sneak in there somewhere, but looks like Cincinnati and the likes of those type of teams beat us to the punch.
Hey, just beat Georgia Tech in that opener, and you're right back at 23. But yeah, you're right. Look, this team is 18-20 over the last 3 years. The only way they could be ranked in the preseason if like most of the college football world wasn't playing. But even then, that kind of shows where Florida State is right now. They got a lot of room to improve, Jay. They got a lot of ways to go. But it's not official yet. The AP and the coaches poll have not come out. I don't even know if the coaches are doing a poll. I wonder if they if like Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, if he can vote in the coaches poll if his team's not playing. I wonder how that's going to work.
Well, now they can actually watch the games and know what they're voting on. So maybe they should be.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, now they're more advantageous to vote now.
Hey, listen, and before I go to all the Seminole fans, let's ingratiate Coach Norvell a little bit more, man. The guy's been here only a short time, and he's had such a tough go of it, man. My goodness, I can see it in his face. Like, let's not run the guy out of town yet. Give him a chance.
I don't think it's the fans you got to worry about, Jay. His players have been a little bit.
It's the fans worrying about what his message is and what's the deal with the players. And I'm with you, Jay. Like, I don't know that a head coach has ever had a stretch like this to start a career at a school. Like, how could you? Twitter wasn't around back when Bobby and Bear Bryant and all those guys and Frank Beamer were starting. So it's been a really interesting summer. I continue to be more and more impressed with that guy. But yeah, man, it's all going to come down to Saturdays. We know how it is. If he can get them to 7 wins this year, hoping there's a season, I think Florida State fans will be right on board with him. And you better be either way because he's going to be here for a while.
Best dressed coach since Paul Bear Bryant.
There we go.
That's right.
All right. Happy Tuesday, Aswan. Go Noles.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Jay. We hadn't heard from Jay in a while, I didn't feel like.
Yeah, we're at the 58-minute mark, so I'm going to turn the phone lines off. We'll take some final comments here from social media. This comes from Warchant. This was a comment from the podcast last night, Corey, or yesterday, or actually today's podcast because it's Tuesday, but the folks listening to this on Wednesday, it's all confusing. Rich 5203, I think the fact they were live, the quarterbacks that is, shows that Blackman is probably a lot further ahead than people want to believe. If Chuba was going to be the guy, no way he makes him live.
It's a fair sentiment. It's a fair thought. I think, though, Norvell, he obviously could be telling us fibs, but he said he's always done that with his young quarterbacks, that in the scrimmages in the preseason when they're freshmen, maybe when they're sophomores, I don't know, he'll make them live to get used to being hit by college players. So I do think that this wasn't just Chuba was so far behind. I think, you want to see if he can handle hits in college. He can't. He's on the mend. He's broken collarbone his first time getting tackled in a college game. But obviously you can see from that clip and those videos, he's a huge kid, and hopefully he'll heal quickly.
Seminole 1992 endorses the show. It was worth the listen to hear Corey Clark ask for a Chuba package.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, a Purdy package. That's not any better.
Yeah. What you going to do? Let's see here. Back over on warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Let me blow that up so I don't lose my vision here. JD DA Knoll, Chuba, get well. Sounds like James will be the starter. Who's the backup? How is Travis doing? Any info? Does Tate have a chance? Thanks, guys. Love the show. MX Hudson out there in Utah. Maybe he can get us some information on BYU. I agree. We've hardly heard a word about Jordan Travis. Is that subterfuge to draw attention away from him? Did I say that word right? Did I say word enough?
You're close. You didn't get it quite right. Subterfuge. It's what's his name? The Wolf. Harvey Keitel says it in Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
When he's telling them how to drive the car to the auto lot. But I think that it was calculated today that he brought up Blackman. Like I think it's kind of clear in his mind that Blackman is going to be the starter. He kept at the very end of all his positive things about Blackman would say, but hey, it's good competition. There's good competition in that room. But it's obviously down to 3 guys now. One's a true freshman. The other guy's a guy that last year's coaching staff wouldn't trust him to throw the ball 7 yards. So it would appear that Blackman is the heavy front runner to win this job. But I think Jordan Travis, again, if you're going to be out, Chuba's going to be out for a month for the first month of the season. Then you have a package for him too. The Jordan package, not the Chuba, the Purdy package.
I asked David Johnson about the quarterbacks just in terms of run game, and he did mention that Jordan Travis will give him something different at the quarterback spot running wise. So he did mention that. So maybe they'll have some specialized stuff for Jordan Travis, but
it's not like he hasn't been asked about these guys. They're just not willing to talk after the scrimmage. He and Dillingham did not say the names of any of the quarterbacks. I don't think he said they all the time about all 4 of them, and then all of a sudden today he talked about one guy, and then the other 2 he just mentions again as they. So that tends to tell me that I think that Blackman is the guy they're leaning on or leaning towards pretty heavily, which it isn't a stunner once Chuba goes down for 6 weeks.
And we touched upon it a little bit, but Adam was asking about allowing guys to be live, contact on freshman quarterbacks. I don't have a problem with it. When this stuff happens, it's not saying that you are Monday morning quarterbacking or armchair quarterbacking it, Matt AMCZ, but especially a guy with his skill set, you got to let him run in practice, see what he can really do. And I don't know how much of maybe Mike Norvell being ambiguous up until Chuba getting hurt might have been because he thought he did have a shot at things, and that's why we are hearing about James Blackman now because Chuba's out of the picture for a little bit. Bummer.
It might change the way he does it moving forward, I guess, but I don't disagree with it because it is such a big part of his game. And you can't. I don't know that the first time you can have him facing real live bullets, well, figurative bullets, against college football players is in the season opener. I think that's part that Norvell knows that he's going to run a lot. That's part of the deal. You have to learn to take a hit. You have to learn to get around folks. You have to learn to be physical with college athletes and the speed and all that. And at least he broke it now as opposed to the first quarter against Georgia Tech, and then he's out for essentially the entire season. That's another way to look at it. But yeah, I get it. When it's in practice, it's always a bummer, man. It's just a bummer. It's unfortunate. But I think he does it there's a rhyme and a reason to why he does that. It's obviously served him pretty well all throughout his career. He's the head coach of Florida State, so he's done well with it. But I get it now. Literally the Monday morning quarterbacking is, man, why are you doing that to Chuba? He had a chance to win the job, and now he's out for 6 weeks. So it's a bummer. It is. I'm with you.
Well, let's take 2 last quick ones. Melissa Crawley-Smith, what aspect of the game should we be most concerned about? Offensive line still, right? Until further evidence presents itself?
Yeah, that and COVID.
Okay. Well, that segues to Scotty B's question. With UNC shutting school down, do you feel that the ACC is going to cancel football?
I think UNC is the telling one in this, man. If they continue to practice, if they're doing, if they continue to have those the football players on campus, and also you don't open yourself up to lawsuits as long as the soccer team is still practicing. So you can't have a title like if the soccer team's still on campus practicing and the volleyball team's still on campus practicing and the football team's still on campus practicing. Well, okay, well then you're doing that for your athletes. Your athletes get to stay on campus, and you can make that argument. I don't necessarily think it's not great that schools would shut down, but I don't necessarily think, oh, there you go, Brandon. So Florida State's 22nd in the CBS Sports poll. There you go, Jay. They're doing it. They're climbing up the charts. If you just get the SEC to cancel football, they might be in the top 10. I think if North Carolina gets through this in the next 2 weeks, and we're still practicing, if they're still practicing, planning on playing with school shut down, I think that bodes extremely well for an entire season. I think the entire season gets played if that's the case. If these presidents don't get freaked out or panicky because they're playing football even with school remote only and no other students allowed on campus. I think if they could just come to grips with that, admit that there are different kinds of students, let them be in their own bubble, play football, go to class online like all the thousands of other students, you're going to have a season. If not, if you're going to shut down every time a school has an outbreak, then it's going to be really tough to continue. But, hey, I'm positive. I think North Carolina keeps going. I think Mac Brown talks him into it. Mac Brown, we love you, man. You're the heart of the ACC. If they keep going, then and I think North Carolina will. If North Carolina keeps going, they're the canary in the coal mine. Then I think all the outbreaks that are going to happen, the clusters are going to happen all over the conference. They're going to be treated the same way. You'll get the tuition money. You're going to send the kids back home. They're still going to be able to go to school, and then you'll get to have a football season.
Ray wants me to jinx the Gators. All right. They're my sleeper pick to win the national title. How about that?
Sweet. Good job, Aslan.
All right, that's a wrap for the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're in this 5 days a week now. It is football season after all. Thanks again to Ray, James, Jeremy, Daniel, Robert, David, and of course, Darth Cronus.
Say Daniel like 3 other times, man. He kept contributing.
Yeah. So we do appreciate that. We'll be back in our natural habitat for the remainder of the week. Myself and Michael Langston will be back Wednesday, 7 p.m. That's tomorrow if you're watching this live, and today if you're listening to the podcast. And I need to find a more smooth way of saying that, but I'll leave the smoothness to Corey Clark. See you tomorrow, bud.